Hello, everyone. Um, Thanks for joining the webinar. My name is Karthik Jagannathan, data architect at Anblicks, and I oversee all the ELT initiatives at the company. With me here is AJ Lim, Director Channels APAC at Talend. Between AJ and I, we are going to go through some of the requirements and challenges in the current day data integration, also known as ETL ELT space, and how Talend and config-driven framework going to addresses together them. Followed by a live demo, the underlying architecture and some implementation details. The first use case was for a large customer of ours who is a leader in the real estate software and data analytics space. We worked with them to modernize their BI platform involving ETL and data warehouse. Some of the key requirements were to migrate the on-prem SQL server to a cloud-native data warehouse, build low-code metadata-driven ETL framework to write data into the target warehouse, improve performance, and reduce maintenance. Some of the challenges were lack of user interface to develop and deploy ETL jobs, very hard to promote code from one environment to other, jobs taking considerable time to develop, and finally, lack of proactive monitoring. We addressed the requirements and challenges by leveraging the combination of Talend and Anblicks config-driven framework. The second use case is for the large retailer in the arts and crafts merchandise space. The requirement was to migrate from data stage to Talend for increased productivity and performance while reducing the development time. Some of the challenges were development effort needed to ingest hundreds of flat files. Code modification is required while adding a new data source or applying parallelization, error handling, and missing scalable architecture. We addressed these requirements and challenges by leveraging the combination of Talend and Anblicks config-driven framework. Now I'm going to request AJ to give a brief overview of Talend and how it addresses these requirements and challenges before I give a demo of the config-driven framework. Over to you, AJ.
Thank you very much, Karthik. Hello, everyone. Thank you for attending this webinar today. Just let me do a quick introduction of Talend, right? We are today a leader in data integration and integrity, right? We are essentially trusted by over 6,500 global organizations, right? These are customers who've embarked on a data journey with Talend, right, across our entire portfolio, which I'll talk a little bit about later, right? We have deep partnerships with all the cloud providers in the market today, right? In particular, I'll call out things like AWS, Azure, Snowflake, Databricks. I'm sure you've seen all this around, and we do have strong technology alliances with them, and we do work very closely with these providers as well, right? But you know, one interesting thing is that together with Anblicks, right, we've been working together as partners for a while, and Anblicks is a Talend Gold partner, right? They've embarked in building up a lot of talent skill sets across their teams, right? And they've designed this implement this framework, right, that essentially accelerates data ingestion. But what does that mean in the bigger picture? Well, before I go into that, right, I just want to share next slide, please. Right. Before we do that, right, just a lot of our customers tend to look at Forrester and Gartner, and they are trying to understand where does Talend sit, right? And Forrester has recognized Talend as the leader in enterprise data fabric. What is a data fabric? Well, later again I'll tell you more. But think about it that, you know, everyone else is playing catch up to Talend as we are leading this conversation around the data fabric, right? And it's really about looking at the customer's end-to-end data journey and understanding what requirements they need and helping them to achieve the outcomes that they want, right? Okay, next slide, please. And no one has ever said that, you know what, people look at Gartner and look at Forrester and say, hey, you know what, I want to look at the leaders. And that's where Talend plays as well, right at the top right corner, where you can see Talend is there as well. We are recognized as a Magic Quadrant leader for data integration. And that's really the gist of where the journey starts, right? And next slide, if you look at all the customers that we have, you know, one of the things that I always encounter people asking is that, hey, what does Talend do? Which industry do we address? Our data management platform, our data fabric, right, cuts across all industries and all types of customers. What that means is that, you know, if you tell me that, hey, you know, which customer is using this, if in a specific industry, you will realize that Talend, right, we address all industries. Next slide, please. And what's the imperative for all the customers driving this conversation today, right? If we look at the landscape, we are in unprecedented times, right? COVID-19 has changed the face of the world, right? All industries have been impacted, right? Everything is uncertain. From here on in, right? Do you know what are we going to do in a post-COVID world? Everyone is adjusting. Airlines have folded, right? The traditional mom and pop brick and mortar shops, right? The departmental stores, the shopping malls and all have disappeared, right? You know, the analysts are anticipating, right? And this has been a trend in a while, for a while, that 50% of the S&P 500 will be replaced in 10 years. Think about it, how much of that has come true today and in fact have been accelerated. No business is immune. If any company thinks that they are not affected by COVID, ask yourself, look around, right? Markets and the environment that we operate in have changed. Companies are looking to be lean and agile. Why? They want to go fast. They need to transform as fast as how much COVID is spreading, how governments are changing their regulations to control the spread of the virus and all, right? They need to stay ahead of their competitors as well. Overnight, today, like if I'm based in Singapore, and overnight, what the government has done was to open up, reduce the restrictions on people going out. And the next day, the government shut it down again. How do companies survive in such a landscape, right? And us as customers today, how many of us have started shopping from home? We as customers expect instant gratification in terms of the experience when we deal with a website, go online shopping and all. If companies are not doing anything to address this, right, they are at risk of becoming obsolete. Next slide, please. So what's stopping companies today, right? It is the data chaos that they have. Many companies have more than 400 sources of data, right? And many of them have more than 6 tools in the organization. What does that mean, right? It's very messy. Data is in silos, right? They have so much silos in the back end that is preventing them from getting the most out of their data. But you realize that many companies are realizing that data is very important, but only 30% are actually believe they can do this properly. Any company you speak to today believe that they need to use data or leverage on data to transform their business. However, not many do it right. 45% of digital transformation projects fail. Such an interesting statistic if you look at it. Next slide, please. However, if you look at companies like AstraZeneca, if they couldn't move fast enough, if the pharmaceutical companies wouldn't move fast enough, right? Understanding the data is imperative for them to be able to roll out the COVID-19 vaccine effectively. Ask yourself, if they cannot do it fast, how long do we need to wait for a vaccine to come out? Today, this vaccine came out in less than a year. Right? They started testing less than a year ago. And most countries, including Singapore today, we've crossed the 40% mark in terms of vaccinations. Next slide, please. We at Talend have helped our customers to essentially have complete, uncompromised, and timely data. We help the customers with our Talend data fabric. to essentially manage the data chaos that they have, right? We are able to ingest their data quickly, right, from any data source. We know that the challenge is actually data ingestion. Once we are able to pull in all this data, right, we are able to then work and massage the data and essentially trace where the data has come from, right, to help customers get the outcomes that they want. It is all about the business outcomes, be it transforming customer experience, increasing operational efficiency, or even innovation. If you look around again, look at all the companies today, all industries, right? How many of them have leveraged on this because of COVID? Companies have, in fact, moved forward their plans of digital transformation. What was supposed to be done next year, they've moved it into this year, right? It's all about speed. It's all about doing things faster, quickly, and efficiently, but still getting the data that you can trust. Next slide, please. The Talend data fabric, if you look at the word fabric, it is like a piece of cloth, a piece of material that you are able to unfold, right, to cover what data requirements that you have, right? It is something where you look at the functionalities that the Talend data fabric provides for you to address that data transformation that you want to do to get the insights that you need. From data integration all the way to data stewardship, data preparation. And one of the most important things today is data catalog, right? If I get the first step wrong, which means that if I'm unable to ingest the data very quickly, rapidly, and it's always changing. Just remember that many companies, again, are having more and more databases. Talend ourselves, we use a number of cloud-based systems to do analysis on the business. We are, after all, a data company, right? So if you look at Talend Data Fabric, it is the tool that helps, or the platform that helps customers to embark on that data journey that they have to address the business outcomes that they want. All right. So at this point of time, if you go to the next slide, let's do a short poll or survey. There's 2 questions in the survey. Kumar, could you launch, or Munwa, could you launch the survey, please? Great. There are 2 questions here. We'd love to hear, the audience view on the 2 questions. First question: within your organization, how far into your journey to move data to the cloud would you estimate you are currently? Right? Think about that question. It is actually quite important, right? Many companies are trying to leverage on cloud. Again, on-prem is still there, but because of COVID and all, companies started to realize that having a cloud deployment is also advantageous to them. So if anybody, yeah, right? And you look at the second question, when you know that you can trust your data, you can make informed strategic decisions with confidence. What is your confidence rating in your organization's data? This really leads to trusted data or data trust, right? Do you trust the data? Are you able, as a retail company, to be able to say that, hey, you know what? Looking at the data, I'm able to say that this particular product, while it's not available in this store, it's available in another branch, maybe 5 kilometers away. Can you accurately trust that data? Right? Okay, I see that we've done a number of polls. Mamwa, I think we should end the polling. Then you take a look at the results, right? Yeah, there are some companies who are essentially halfway through the journey, right? And really, there are companies who are really not confident of attendees, as you guys have given feedback that you're not fully confident of the data. It's true, right? How many CAEOs, CDOs can say that they're 100% confident of the data and use it to make informed, critical business decisions, right? Think about it. It is very reflective of what the industry is thinking. They are trying, they find it's very difficult, but even though some of them have started, they don't trust the data. Right? So thank you very much, everyone, for doing the poll. I'm going to hand over to Karthik right now to essentially do a little bit more on their CDF. Oh, there's a raised hand here. Let's take a look at the question. Sujit, right? Do you have a question? Do you want to type it into the Q&A or the chat window? Sujit, maybe you want to type it into the Q&A and then we can take the questions from there.
Team, please feel free to type all your questions in the Q&A tab, which is in the bottom of your screen. So what we will do, we'll let Karthik go through the demo. After the demo, we'll answer that. Yeah.
All right, cool. Thank you. So over to you, Karthik.
Thanks, AJ. So now I'm going to introduce Anblicks config-driven framework. We developed this framework to address the present-day data integration challenges around increased development time, operational inefficiencies, maintenance costs, and performance issues. The tool is config-driven instead of code-driven and has built-in support for RDBMS, APIs, flat files, and semi-structured data sources like JSON and XML. It has a nice operational dashboard offered out of the box to monitor and troubleshoot the jobs. It also has robust logging and error handling built into it, as well as parallel processing support. Because of all these built-in features, it offers lower TCO, the total cost of ownership, improved operational efficiencies, and good performance gain. I'm going to give a live demonstration of the key feature of the tool. So let's go through the tables involved in the framework execution, followed by exploring the database model. So basically, there are 3 master tables and 2 operational tables designed to support the framework. So here is the task type table with all the list of tasks supported now. For example, if it's a select, then the task will be configured to read data from a select query and load into the configured target. If it is SP, then the task executes the stored procedure in the target system. It can be leveraged to call other program engines as well. The next is connection type. This table has the list of all data connections supported by the framework. Right now it supports MS SQL, Snowflake, MySQL, and Postgres. We can add more data connections by applying design changes. So the next is control table. It is an important operational table. It has task details. When I say task, it's a quantity of process specific to a data load. For example, let's say there is a process of loading a data from SQL Server to Snowflake with or without transformations, then it's considered as a task. So we have n number of tasks configured with details like source and target, server, database, schema, task type to know what kind of task it is, source and target, connection type to specify what kind of source and destination connection the task required. So the tasks are basically grouped so that it can be configured at the client level. Then next is, here is the master client table with the client details inserted. Group ID is mapped to client so that when the client level of job is initiated, then the task associated with the group IDs are called along with that. And then log table gets the logs and errors of each task when it's executed. It logs the status and time of the task execution along with the data validation states like source and destination record count. So let's quickly go through the database relationship model on an overview. As you see, there are 3 master tables connected with 2 operational tables at a glance. Now, let's move on to a live configuration of a client and some tasks followed by a Talend job deployment and execution on Talend management console. So here are a few queries which is gonna help to insert the configuration into the framework. So here, a new client called Superfast Davings. I'm just gonna execute this so that a new client is inserted. And so this particular task, the details of the task is to load data from SQL Server to Snowflake table. So if you look at it, the task type key is selected as 1. The source connection is MS SQL, and the destination connection type is Snowflake. So with the details like what kind of select query to be called to load the data from the source to target. So all other info are given here as it is inserted. So I'm going to execute quickly this particular task into the control table. So next task is this task represents the stored SQL Server stored procedure execution. Let's say if you have a stored procedure as a part of your execution, then simply configuring the task type as true and then target connection type as MS SQL Server, we can quickly insert this task into the control table. And then here comes the task to extract API data and load into SQL Server. So if you look at it, the task type key is 9, and then the target connection type is MS SQL Server. We have a lot of other dependencies, which is already built in part of this JSON. So I'm just gonna insert the task key. So if you observe it, within a less than 2 or 3 minutes, we have configured 3 different tasks to be executed as a part of this framework. Yeah. So now let's quickly take you to the Talend management console, wherein we have the tasks configured. So I'm gonna quickly show how a job can be configured. Yeah. So yeah, here I'm gonna go to the management. Then so here are the tasks which already we have configured to be a part of different other clients with several other tasks already configured. I'm going to quickly show you how to add a task. So I'm going to select the artifact and then quickly giving the task name as say CDF orchestrated job and the client name along with the master client key. Then continue. So here come the parameters need to be passed. I'm going to pass it as 700, which is the master client key for this particular client. And then continue to select the environment and then go live. Now we have configured a job in Talend Management Console as we have configured 3 different tasks to this specific client. So the moment I click run now, all those 3 tasks are executed sequentially. So while this is running, let's jump onto the monitoring part of the framework. The log table, what we have seen in the backend is connected to the Power BI dashboard to draw useful insights. So here comes the client summary dashboard. It's quite interactive dashboard. It's an ELT monitoring dashboard, which consists of 3 dashboards with a wide variety of operational KPIs to monitor those data load issues more regularly and more proactively. The client summary dashboard is designed to provide a comprehensive snapshot of the performance of the day. The top pan of the dashboard displays a high-level overview of key performance indicators like total number of clients, the number of data load progress by status, like how much are success, how much are pending in progress, and how much are failed, along with the number of rows processed and load time. And a time period selector is given here to choose a specific date. The second row shows the top 5 clients by record count and then by execution time. It helps the operation team understand the peak in data volume and processing time. The failure details KPI shows the consolidated failed data loads to provide context to which loads are failed. The operation team can just troubleshoot the failures by capturing enough details displayed here with increased speed of resolution. The right bottom pan shows the rate of change of execution time over the last 7 days with a percent difference. It helps the operation team to understand the trend in data load execution, server utilization, and the need of scalability over the period. So let's move on to the client detailed dashboard. So these KPIs displays the insight at the client level of task detail. So client name and the load date can be selected from the filter basically here. And it looks similar to the summary dashboard, like the high level overview indicators on the top pan. But here is at the task level. So the selected client failed data loads shown here. So in this pan. Right? A KPI is shown here based on the task type wise data load processing time. So this gives a fair insight about which task type shares the higher load time, which one needs attention in terms of performance tuning and engine load balancing. So the number of data loads restarted and failed in the last 7 days of the time period helps to proactively monitor to mitigate the failure. So all the tasks from the client selected are listed shown at the bottom. So basically the client and the date, whatever we select, all the list of tasks are displayed here. And then the next is failure report. So it gives a detailed failure report on a given particular date and for a given client name. So this is all about insightful dashboard, which is fueled by the Anblicks config-driven framework. Apart from this, the logs and errors also explode out of the table. So if you look at it here, so let's say if I run this particular query, I'm just trying to select the list of all the tasks ran on basically on 7/26. So this log table is exposed with additional details so that logs and errors can be consumed by the downstream system with the existing BI tools or any other monitoring tools. So with this, I'm going back to the slide. So let's talk about the Anblicks config-driven framework architecture. So the left part indicates the data sources supported by this framework. The center part of the architecture shows the actual framework and its components, which executes on top of the Talend server. So there are two jobs designed within the framework. One is Talend orchestrator job, which gets the client ID as the input given, fetches the list of tasks from the control table, and it orchestrates each task along with the config details passed to the second job named Talend executor job. It gets the configuration details from the orchestrator job and executes on the desired program engine. And finally, logs and errors are stored in the log table here. The beauty of this framework is that the task can be parallelized just by configuring it in the control table. So as you see here, the list of tasks can be sequential, or it also can be parallel just by configuring the details in the control table. The target data is loaded into RDS or flat files as supported, and the log stored detail flows into the operational dashboard developed in Power BI. So coming to the implementation part, installing Anblicks config-driven framework on top of your Talend data fabric, and it's a simple and seamless process. Our professional service can do that as well as help you in quickly building your ETL jobs through configuration. Anblicks also provides support and maintenance services after installation and development are complete. So here are some key takeaways. While there is a 2x increase in data source, the development effort is proportionately lower to 1.2x, which saves up to 60% of the time. Due to the unified framework code base, the maintenance effort is considerably reduced. Hence, it saves up to 40% of the maintenance cost. Dynamicity of the pipeline allows adding new data sources with little effort on configuration or no input at all. Tasks can be parallelized just by configuring them in the configuration table. It helps to improve performance in X number of times. So operational dashboard help the IT support team stay proactive and ahead of problems to mitigate failures. Any problems in the ETL ELT process would be highlighted in real time. Yeah. So here comes a couple of poll questions related to ETL framework and monitoring dashboard, which are lined up for the participants, which will pop up now quickly. Please poll your answers. We will wait for 30 seconds to get the responses and results. So there are two questions listed here. One is about the reusable ETL framework usage with your current ETL workflow. The second question is about the unified proactive dashboard, to mitigate failures with your current ETL workflow. So the poll results are showing up here. Yeah, so we're getting by the way, yeah, the poll results. So it really shows that the need of such config-driven framework in the ETL ELT space, right? Because I'm seeing here, yeah. Here, but yeah, we can end the polling. Yeah. Thank you. So Anblicks is a cloud data engineering company enabling enterprises with data-driven decision making. So Anblicks is gold partner, as AJ stated in the slide, and we provide modern ETL ELT solutions based on the Talend platform. So here comes the Q&A. I'm handing over to Munwar for organizing. So please post your questions in the Q&A poll, the Q&A box in the Zoom control. You can post all of your questions.
Hi team, please use your Q&A window if you have any questions related to Talend or the pricing or support for your specific country, anything related to the Anblicks config-driven framework for Talend or any technical questions. Feel free to type your questions in that Q&A window, which is in the bottom of the screen. Okay, there's one question, maybe Karthik, you can try to answer is, what is the productivity gain when using such a framework?
Yeah, sure. So in an usual scenario, let's say once when we get the ETL requirement to load a data from source to target, with or without transformations, we really go to the platform and then design it for every ETL requirement. So considering this framework, if you look at the development effort, it's mostly on the configuration end. Instead of code driven, it's completely a metadata driven, which we already shared, like up to 40% or 60% of the time and effort savings we have observed with the existing implementation.
There's one more question, Karthik, maybe you can take it, is whether any cross-tab data in Excel can be converted into data set.
I think it's quite functionality of Excel. With this framework, right now Excel is not supported, but this can be leveraged to read the Excel and then convert into data set.
Okay, got it. Okay, any other questions, team? Okay, cool then. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for attending. And thanks so much, AJ and Karthik, for presenting a nice webinar, Talend. And we'll be sharing the recording of this webinar to everybody. And again, once again, thanks so much for your time, and everybody have a wonderful time.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.